Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, or Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the earth, and also the brothers that teach this word in sincerity. Coming back at you with another lesson to, basically, bring out this article how Moab, which is the so-called Chinese, Ammon also, which is the so-called Japanese, but mainly Moab, is catching that heat. The so-called Chinese. You know, the Lord is starting to judge these other heathen nations for what they did to the children of Israel. The Lord has been, judging Moab, as of late. Based on everything that's going on with the whole pandemic and things like that. Moab is catching, the heat of things. You know, this is a great thing to see. You know, that these curses is falling upon our enemies because they've been due to everything that's going on, they've been quote unquote attacked by these other nations. Jake has been attacking them and different things like that, but ultimately this is nothing but the curses coming up upon our enemies. So this is from CNBC news article from the Make It, how to support Asian American colleagues amid the recent wave of anti-Asian violence. And we know they're really from the nation of Moab. Many communities are seeing a disturbing wave of anti-Asian violence in recent weeks, including robberies, burglaries, and assaults targeting older Asian American and Pacific Islander individuals. In San Francisco, 84-year-old Thai American Vichy died from injuries after he was pushed to the sidewalk in San Jose, California. A 64-year-old Vietnamese American woman was robbed of $1,000 in cash. Right, so not only is Moab catching it, but Japheth also, you know, and this is a beautiful sign. The curses are coming upon our enemies, and also how you have Moab, posting up in our neighborhoods, taking advantage of our people, you know, and it's a beautiful sign, to see these curses coming upon our enemy because all they do, when they're in their neighborhood, they mock us, feed our people shrimp, crab, and lobster, give our women hair weaves, basically belittle our people, mock our people, you know, take money out of the communities. In New York, Noel Quintana, who is 61 and Filipino, America was slashed in the face during a subway confrontation. And in Oakland, California, a 91-year-old man was shoved to the ground in a string of more than 20 robberies and assaults reported to the city's Chinatown community leaders ahead of the Lunar New Year. Right, so they catch what Jake usually catch. It's nothing but hell. And that's what's coming on to the people of Moab. Because a lot of people say after America is is done away with, that the Chinese got next to rule. That's not even the case at all. You know, the Chinese, the so-called Chinese man, woman, and child is going to be at the bottom with the so-called white man. They're not going to have it as worse as the so-called white man, woman and child. But Moab is also going to be at the bottom. You know, the incidents come more than a year after many Asian Americans began experiencing CV-related racism fueled by xenophobia. Right. Going back to the book of Deuteronomy 28. And the 15th verse all the way down to the 68th verse. It's coming upon our enemies. You know, as well as former President Trump's repeated use of a racist description of the CV. Stop AAPI, a national coalition documenting and addressing anti-Asian discrimination during the pandemic, received over 2,800 first-hand accounts of anti-Asian hate. Right, so these other heathens are going to realize what it's like to to feel like a so-called Black Latino and a Native American person here in America. They're finna realize how it is to be us. Living this everyday life. You know, between March 19th and December 31st, 2020. The violence has already discouraged some parents from sending kids back to school for in-person learning and kept Asian American residents and their allies on high alert. So expect more things like this, because the Lord is already judging Edom on a mass scale. A lot of I forgot what the substance was called, but a lot of Edomites, are hooked on, onto, crack cocaine and these different substances that Jake was hooked on, back in the late '80s, early '90s during a crack epidemic. Esau Edom is being judged in that regard, and Moab is being regarded, far as hate being attacked, you know, and us being a Jake, we recognize this, of our people being, being whipped, raped and beaten, ever since we've been in this land called America, and it's a beautiful thing to experience Moab experiencing the same thing, But when the kingdom of heaven is established, they're going to catch it a lot more, a lot more worse. The violence has already discovered some. Okay, I read that. Yes, despite increasing costs for public awareness and action, many advocates say employees are doing enough provide support for AAPI employees who may be impacted by the news or to recognize that their own anti-Asian discrimination within the workplace. And if you believe it or not, Moab next to Esau Edom is another worse heathen nation. They follow everything that Esau Edom does. The so-called Chinese man, woman, and child. Who comes from Moab. They're worse. Sometimes be worse than the Edomites. They oppress us in our so-called own neighborhoods. You know, they kill our people. We was enslaved by the Moabites at one point in time. You know, To be sure, widespread workplace discussion of racial discrimination are relatively new following decades where shying away from race, politics, and religion at work were the norm. And also, we gotta point out that when we were suffering, none of these heathen nations came to our regard. They was all how the Bible roughly paraphrasing the scripture. How these different nations were together to bring our people down. You know, they traded each other gifts and different things like that. The Africans, the so-called white man, the Moabites, which are the Chinese, the Japanese, which are the Ammonites. They all came together to bring us down. You know, and now they're the ones suffering. They're the ones looking for help. Of why they're being attacked. And like I said before, this is a beautiful thing to see. So I'm gonna read a little bit more, then I'm gonna jump into some scriptures. But as many people saw following racial injustice movements in the summer of 2020, employees expected their organizational leaders to speak up on the issue. Uh, First and foremost, you should absolutely have these conversations with your employees, says consultant and author Kim Tran. I don't think enough people have conversations about what's happening in real life and how that impacts your ability to do your job. Right, so the lesson being, these curses are coming upon Esau Edom. I mean, not Salaki, not Esau Edom, but the Moabites, which are the so-called Chinese. So if you want to read the rest of this article, it's from CNBC. Make it. So with that being said, I'm finna jump. I got two precepts or two scriptures. Uh, this is Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on all Salaki, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Right? Have the Moabites persecuted us? Yes, they have. Going back into the ancient times. During the times we were in slavery under the Moabites. You know, we were warring against the Moabites at one point in time. You know, and we were in slavery under the Moabites. And this in the year 2021, we can see that these curses are coming upon our enemies because what we know that our captivity is at an end. So I'm gonna read it one more time. This is Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Right, we're seeing the curses on our enemies now. You know, the Moabites being persecuted. Being hated upon. Being called that proverb and that byword. Chinks. Different things like that. Being responsible for the whole pandemic. They being pointed at as being the cause of the pandemic. They're being attacked. You know, that's signs the curses being upon our enemies. You know, Salakia. This is Jeremiah 30 and 16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Right, going back to what I read, I believe it was Deuteronomy 30 and 7. You know, the Moabites devoured us at one point in time and continue to devour us to this day. You know, like I said before, they have different things in our communities, that make us go off. Mainly, having, selling shrimp to our people, shrimp, pork, crab, and lobster to our people. Being in our neighborhoods, oppressing our people. Calling us proverbs and bywords. And these curses coming upon our enemies. They're being devoured right now. Because they devour us, and they're ultimately going to be devoured when they go into captivity. Once we can use them for our slaves. They're going to be our property. You know, and all that prey upon thee will I give for prey. All right, and that's ultimately going to happen. They're going to be nothing but slaves in the kingdom of heaven. You know, so Lord, one, I hope this is edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone who taught me this truth. Salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the earth, and also the brothers that teach this word in sincerity. Lord, one, I hope this is edifying. The Lord, one, I'll come back on another lesson soon. Shalom.